welcome once again, everyone. And now we have a presentation given by Mr. Natarajan Radhakrishnan, and the topic of the presentation is how automation and analytic work with practical examples. So let me introduce Natarajan Radhakrishnan to all of you. And so he is acting as a president and a global CIO of HGS, managing the end-to-end enterprise IT portfolio across the organization. He also leads the transformation initiatives at HGS and helping spearhead the dedicated HGS digital brand, which is transforming the client's businesses through intelligent automation, predictive cognitive analytics, cloud, and customer experience solutions. The team has re-engineered hundreds of business processes and implemented scripted and robotic process automation using industry-leading tools across industries such as healthcare, BFSI, retail, etc. So Natarajan sir is over 32 years of experience in IT, BPM consulting and financial services. He pioneered the concept of global consulting execution, a model and industrialized the model in his earlier organizations. Natarajan sir is a thought leader in the area of digital business transformation, business models, and application outsourcing. So there you go, sir. I hope you're all set. I really appreciate you are smiling in the beginning of the day and the beginning of this presentation. Thank you so much for the smile. And over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Anupam, for the glowing, glorious introduction. Good morning to you all. And thanks for being here. Let me share my screen. Okay, I'm assuming the audience can see the presentation out there. Okay, so I'm sure you have heard so much about automation and analytics and so on and so forth. There's a lot of focus on efficiency, effectiveness using various automation tools. My story is a little bit different. I'm saying, automation on its own is kind of earlier generation. Now it's really becoming multi-tower. It's combining with analytics, which is a second A out there, and also artificial intelligence. And that to all the 3 A's, automation, analytics, and artificial intelligence, delivered to a cloud to drive a much higher impact than before. That is the theme of the day. And I will very quickly run through over the next 20 minutes, cover a few slides, give a few examples. And maybe we can spend the last 5 minutes on questions and answers. So today, features are passé. There was a generation which was built on features. Then people valued what was in a particular product. Does it serve a function for me? Does it have all the features? For example, take a cell phone. Earlier, you could look at what is the storage, what are the features of the camera, or what is the resolution, and so many other things. Today, people don't look at all the features. They look at what is important to them. So customer experience has become the single most important driver today. Why is this the case? This is because there's almost a new generation of customers. We call them Gen CX, as opposed to millennials or baby boomers or Gen X or Gen Y. This is not an age-related classification. This is a classification of consumers who focus on their own personal experience with a particular product. And what is important today is the experience as opposed to features. Features are almost hygiene factors. People may look at only 1 or 2 features as opposed to 20 different things. And the third most important theme is hyper-personalization. We started with Henry Ford saying any color as long as it's black when he started manufacturing Ford cars in US. And from there, we went into segmentation, SUV versus sedan versus all-purpose vehicles and so on and so forth. Today, it's almost like hyper-personalization. What is important for me? I will not even look at a particular segment. I will only look at what I need, and you need to customize that. It's gone down to that level. So given that customer expectations have evolved this way, how is the industry responding? Let's look at that. So we are using the digital transformation theme. I think it's an oft-used, misused word, an omnibus word for all kinds of transformation. We are trying to address the newly evolving client expectations using a combination of things. For example, we moved from one channel, which is the physical channel. Something sells through a store. You went to a showroom and picked up the stuff. From there, we moved into a multi-channel environment. And from there, we have moved into omni-channel. There's a clear difference between multi-channel and omni-channel. Today, a consumer can engage with you, whether it is for marketing or for actual purchase, through multiple channels. He may go to a store, he may order it online, or maybe through a mobile, or he may even interact with you through social media. So all kinds of channels are possible. And we need to bring them together to give them a seamless and similar experience across all different channels. And that calls for a unified database and mapping out all client journeys and so on and so forth very closely. You cannot give them different experiences over different channels. And we are using other concepts like Internet of Things, put a device out there, collect all the possible data about the customer so that you can deliver personalized services. And continuously monitor customer experience using wearables. And smartphones are another source of engaging with clients, monitoring client behavior, and so on. And today, social media is not all about tweets and pictures and so on. It's also about customer engagement. Whether the customer gets to know of a product through social media or engages with a company through social media or shares his experiences through social media, it's become a very, very important channel out there. So this is how we are using some of the tools of digital transformation for addressing changing client expectations. This is the context with which we need to address automation and analytics. More on this, today we need to clearly understand the customer journey. For example, let's say a customer is trying to buy a washing machine. The customer journey is not unique, unlike in the past. There are different possible customer journeys out there. It may be a physical purchase, it may be an online purchase, and it may be a happy one or it may be an unhappy one. There may be need for replacement, warranty support, all that. The point I'm making is you need to map out all possible customer journeys and address them, whether it is at the point of marketing or at the point of interaction, or at the point of execution. By execution, I also mean post-purchase support, right? At the point of marketing, the customer may look at or engage with you or see your marketing messages through different channels. We need to clearly profile our prospects in terms of age group, personality attributes, experiences, all of that, and then deliver a hyper-personalized message. For example, there was a study by a major IT company which says 75% of the audience respond positively if they are addressed by their first name. In other words, the message cannot be a generic message. It has to be, hey Anupam, hey Nat, and then only people value that. And it has to be extremely relevant to me, not just my age group, my personality profile. And then you deliver your messages through whatever channel you want. For this, and the subsequent step is the point of interaction. Once you arouse some interest in the client, how do you engage with them? How do you supply information? Is it in the form of, does the customer have to do a web search, or does he fill out a form so that you narrow the kind of information you share with them, or you provide them with a virtual assistant so that it's a highly customized experience? Similarly, at the point of execution, how do we process the order from the client? How do we gather insights and do a very intelligent kind of research? And how do you execute the orders, whether it is invoice processing or finding out the point of delivery? How do you use automation for doing all that? And finally, not to forget post-purchase service. In all this, there is tremendous possibility to do automation, analytics, and AI so that we can deliver hyper-personalized experiences. Moving on, how does, I wanted to know, all of you know about automation. I wanted to spend a minute on analytics before combining these two, right? Earlier, analytics used to be almost like postmortem. why a certain thing happened in a certain way, right? And then we try to describe behavior, why somebody is behaving in a certain manner. And from there, we moved into a more predictive kind of models, where you can almost predict the consumer behavior with 90% or 95% accuracy. Given the past trends and emerging trends, how do we use things like natural language processing, artificial intelligence, all of that, and predict how the consumer will behave in future, and also develop propensity and forecasting models. Is he likely to buy your product again? For example, if somebody spends 20 minutes out of 30 minutes in a particular shopping aisle in a departmental store, chances are that she will buy more things from that aisle. From there, almost a cognitive artificial intelligence led automation and analytics using machine learning and deep learning models. These are successive stages of maturity, starting from explaining to forecasting to completely predicting. That is really, really important. That's a paradigm shift in analytics. So given this background, how is automation and analytics coming together? In automation itself, I would say the first generation of automation was all scripted. You took a back office process, wrote a program to automate it. It was a very long drawn affair. You needed to understand the workflow and then do actual programming, coding to automate stuff. From there, we moved on to automation using tools, whether it is RPA or RDA, robotic process automation or robotic desktop automation, and where we believed we should automate repetitive tasks involving low complexity, tasks which does not involve human decision making. That was the first step of RPA. Today, we have actually moved on. We are able to automate more complex tasks. We are able to automate where decisioning is involved. A bunch of rules can be applied. Even if it is, let's say, stochastic or neural decisioning, even if it is not a bunch of rules. On the basis of past behavior, past decisions, the RPA bot can learn on the job and take more complex decisions. And the agents are there more for managing client experience as opposed to doing repetitive jobs or even more complex decisioning process. So today we have a second or third generation of automation, which involves automating complex tasks. Not only that, we can combine that effectively with embedded analytics. You collect a bunch of data, either using IoT or by looking at the past sessions and so on, and apply machine learning models and predictive data models to understand how the customer will behave in future. What will be the propensity to buy? Are there any likelihood of complaints, etc., and take proactive action. And these two combined can be delivered on a cloud-based model. And then, of course, there are other new concepts which are coming in, like using blockchain, drones for last mile delivery, etc., etc. My point is, earlier it was simply automation, then it became intelligent automation. Today it is combining with analytics and artificial intelligence delivered over cloud for a much more powerful offering. Let me share some examples very quickly. One example is in the BPO industry. This is the example of a contact center. The traditional call center, contact center, there are thousands of calls coming in. For example, for one of our health insurance clients, we get like 10,000 calls a day. The model is you put 1,000 agents, you put let's say 500 agents. Every agent takes 20-30 calls every day. An average call may last for 15 minutes, right? And the agent may be able to address the issue. Or if he is not able to address the issue, it will be escalated to his manager. It's a purely linear model. If 10,000 becomes 20,000, we need double the number of agents. And the agents may be wasting time in answering routine calls. For example, somebody may call up and say, hey, I lost my insurance card. Can you replace? Hey, I lodged a claim. what is the current status of the claim. The new paradigm, the model which we have outlined here, is a cognitive contact center. Here, the first point of call is really a conversational bot or a virtual assistant. So it will handle the initial query. It will be able to sort out by asking a bunch of details, 4 or 5 or 6 different questions. It will be able to handle the repetitive calls upfront. So typically, it may start with answering 20% of the calls. If the bot is unable to answer, or if it is stumbling, even after 2 levels of attempts, if it is not able to handle the call, the bot will pass on the call to a human agent. Right? Now the human agent is getting only the more complex calls. Earlier, she was getting a mix of complex and easy calls. So now the job of the human agent is much more difficult because he's getting only the complex calls. So typically in a contact center atmosphere, the agent may have to look at 6, 7, 8 different screens before he can do a response or a solution. So we are making the agent's life simple by bringing all of them together in a unified dashboard. That is where analytics come in. So we have already moved on from automation to analytics. Whatever the agent does is stored in a knowledge base or in a repository. And from that repository, it feeds back to the bot. The bot learns from the repository. So that is where AI comes in. There is an element of cognition out here. The bot becomes smarter over a period of time. So that is where AI comes in. Not only that, when the bot reroutes a call to the agent, there is sentiment. The bot is able to figure out if the caller is happy or unhappy. For example, the caller may say, "This is my 3rd call. You guys have done nothing about it. I've been holding on for 30 minutes, right? This has not been resolved for 15 days. We can actually do a sentiment analysis from this. We can detect the emotions from the tone, from the language, and so on and so forth. So essentially in this model, the bot initially handles maybe 20-25% of the calls. Over a period of time, it may start handling 50-60% of the calls because the bot is becoming smarter. And here we are effectively combining AI, automation, and analytics and deliver a seamless service. The agent focuses on more difficult calls. Agent focuses on managing client experience as opposed to managing routine tasks. This is a great example of combining multiple offerings into one solution. This is a hypothetical one. Let me cover a couple of real-life case studies. One is for a leading health insurance company, how to use automation for processing claims. Typically, in a health insurance atmosphere, the back office receives a lot of claims. The claims may be received by post, it may be received by emails, it may be received through multiple channels. And the processor has to look at the claim, look at all the past data. It may even come by fax, right? She has to scan all the documents, understand all the information. Remember, in case of claims, if you deny a claim, people can appeal. And the claims can come from individual members or from providers like hospitals. Some of the appeals can be 50, 60, 70 page documentation. The human agent has to read through all the 60, 70, 80 pages. It may not be very comprehensive, may be very time consuming, right? And once you deny a claim, and there may be an appeal, and the appeal has to be adjudicated. Often you will see that 15-20% of the appeals may have to be upheld, meaning you may have to reverse your decision, and that's a very high number. Some of this may be genuine because the member might not have supplied all the information. There may be incomplete documentation, etc. But in many other cases, it's quite possible that the agent made a mistake and you may need to correct them. So it's a very unpleasant experience for the claims processing setup. If you take too long, for example, there's a time limit in which you need to adjudicate the claims. If you can't adjudicate in 30 days, you need to pay up and then figure out if it is a valid claim or not. So you have a situation of overpaid claims, and then you have to claw back, you have to go back and ask the hospital to reimburse. And that takes time. And we are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars getting stuck in this kind of a model. So we developed a image analytics engine. This engine can actually look at all the emails and faxes, any kind of documents, whether it is a PDF or a Word document or a text document, and then use natural language processing engine to read through the complete document. It's not just doing a keyword search, it is actually doing a sentence context, because words have different meanings under different contexts. So we use a ML engine to classify the images, to read through the sentences, and then arrive at an early decision. The engine can actually give a level of confidence for its decision. And you could say anything with over 80% confidence, I will not take any further action. Anything with less than that, between 50 and 80%, an agent will look at it, and so on and so forth. So this whole solution resulted in reducing the number of manual steps from 9 to 2. And we could reduce the error rate to less than 1%. We were able to do the job with 40% less number of agents and a saving of almost like $2 million per annum. This is on one process only. And we were able to turn around claims very quickly. When a member makes a claim, she expects a decision very quickly. You can't be taking weeks. All that was possible by doing a cognitive automation out there, leveraging image analytics and machine learning. One more example of a leading health insurance provider. This is for provider calls. Providers are basically hospitals. They call up insurance companies. They may say, hey, we have put in 100 claims. We are going to go ahead with the surgery tomorrow or day after. What is the early decision? Can you tell us quickly? So the agent will have to look at multiple screens to validate the member information, past claims, sufficiency of documentation, etc., etc. This navigation alone, if the average handle time for a call is about 20 minutes, the agent spends about 4 or 5 minutes unnecessarily in navigating through past information. And remember, in this particular case, for this client, we get 10,000 calls a day, 3 million calls per annum. So by automating using RPA, right, we were able to classify all the incoming calls. The bot takes over and navigates depending on the agent's inputs, and then kind of reduces the pre-processing or the initial processing time. So upfront, we were able to get a 10% reduction in the average handle time. This is the initial iteration. Over a period of time, as I said, the bot will become smarter. We may even, instead of 10%, we may get a 20% reduction. And similarly, the first pass, we could get a 5 to 10% saving on FTEs. Right? These numbers may look small, but remember, over a period of time, it becomes bigger and bigger. And the most important thing, this reduces the training time of our agents. Today, we need to train our agents, call center agents, in terms of how to look, classify these calls, how to look at the past documentation, and so on and so forth. Often the training is for 45 days, 60 days. And if you can bring them down by a couple of weeks, that's a huge saving. And remember, this is a self-learning bot. These are some examples, in the interest of time, I'll probably pause out here and take some questions. My submission is we have moved on from routine automation to a complex automation. And we have moved on from automation only to automation plus analytics, leveraging artificial intelligence, concepts like NLP, machine learning, deep learning, etc., to deliver self-learning solutions which get better over time. And often these solutions are delivered on the cloud. They can be delivered on on-prem model also, but cloud gives you much more flexibility. It accelerates your learning process. I'll probably stop there and take a few questions.
So if you, the audiences, if you have any questions, the attendees, if you have any questions, you can drop in the questions towards the question and answer on the right hand side of your screen. If you can see there are questions. The feed is also there. The Q&A is there under the session option. You can go ahead, and if you have any questions, you can drop in your questions. So meanwhile, sir, if you get any questions, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And other than that, you can just go ahead with your presentation.
So most of our clients are, now moving from a single tower approach to a multi-tower approach, which means they have to really give the business problem as opposed to giving you automate these 5 jobs or do this predictive analytics for us and so on. They have to tell you it takes 42 minutes to take a call, or it takes 15 days to process a claim. Can you cut that down by 20%, 30%? Then we can put together a mix of analytics and automation and then try to address that.
So we are not seeing any questions yet, sir. So you can go ahead and close the presentation with your closing comments. Thank you.
Thanks a bunch. This is a fairly new concept. This has gained traction in the last, I would say, 12, 18 months. And thanks, team. And if there are any other reactions, feel free to get in touch with me. Thank you.